Hi everybody, Tug speaking here this Monday morning. I just want to go through my edit of my cut down book, Tug's Trek, and I'm going to continue from the prologue, when the boss, Robert Mugabe, arrived, and lead into the first chapter. So that day on the farm, the day the boss came calling, marked the beginning of my awakening to a deeper truth. Power without purpose is poison. What began as pride and excitement curdled into fear and foreboding. Yet, years later, I would look back and see the seed of a lesson that would shape my own political philosophy. The discipline to stay grounded, the awareness to read what lies beneath appearances, and the mindset to act with dignity, even in the shadow of intimidation. So we lead into my first chapter, Joko Tea and Joker Gold. In February 1960, British Prime Minister Harold Macmillan stood before a joint sitting of Parliament in Cape Town and told the Afrikaners what they least wanted to hear. The wind of change is blowing through this continent, he declared. And whether we like it or not, this growth of national consciousness is a political fact. 8 days earlier, he had stood in Salisbury, capital of southern Rhodesia, when riots broke out, black activists rising against colonial rule. The tension that would one day ignite a war was already seething beneath the surface. The rural farmers, my family among them, would feel that fire most keenly. Life for a Rhodesian farmer in 1960 was solitary and unhurried. There was no television in the bush, and newspapers arrived days late, their edges curled from the sun. Evenings settled into quiet rituals. My father with his crossword and whiskey, my mother Tish tending to supper or bent over jars of chutney for the farm stall. On the wireless, a crackling play from London filled the night air. I wasn't yet born, but I came to know those rhythms, the simplicity and the silence, from stories told later and from the steady pulse of Ceres itself. My parents' political beliefs, I need to edit this. My parents' political beliefs were as divided as the Zambezi. My father, Rex, was a staunch conservative, unbending in his belief in segregation and order. He read every column of the Rhodesia Herald with the intensity of a man who feared the tides of change. Macmillan's speech had chilled him. He saw it in the dismantling of everything the settlers had built. My mother, by contrast, was her mother's daughter, Ruth Foley, one of the founders of South Africa's Black Sash movement. A graduate of Wits University, Tish believed in universal suffrage and equality, ideas considered radical in our corner of the world. Her compassion was fierce, but never naive. She knew the risks of change, yet she refused to shrink from them. Their marriage endured not through politics, but through affection, tolerance, and a shared belief that love outlasts ideology. Our lineage in southern Africa stretched back to 1691, when Tug Morkel arrived at the Cape from Hamburg. Over centuries, Morkels fought in wars, farmed the veld, and played for the Springboks. Pride in the name ran through my father's veins like the Missouri River in flood. On my mother's side, enterprise was the bloodline. Her grandfather, a floor layer turned magnate, built Glenton and Mitchell, makers of the legendary Joko Tea. In 1976, the brand sold to Unilever for a princely sum, a fortune earned not through inheritance, but through nerve and nous. That mix of grit and grace ran strong in my mother. In 1891, my grandfather Arthur Morkel ventured north over the Limpopo. Chasing Rhodes's dream of empire, he pegged his claim in a fertile valley and named it Ceres, after the Roman goddess of agriculture. Water from the Foon Spruit ran clean through the heart of the land. From his gold mine, the Joker, he raised the capital to buy the farm outright. It was a land of promise, and as it turned out, of inheritance. My grandfather Reg expanded the holdings, and when my father came of age, he inherited the remainder of Ceres, rich, black and red soil and the burden of its upkeep. His brothers farmed nearby. The Morkels had made their stand in Rhodesia. They had lived by the rhythms of the land, up before sunrise, bed by 9, scotch with water, never soda. Soda's dearer than petrol and ruins good whiskey. That's water. His days followed the rain and the seasons. His life was one of purpose and order. By the time Rhodesia voted in 1922 to remain a self-governing colony rather than join South Africa, a distinct spirit had taken hold. Pioneering, proud and self-reliant. After 2 world wars, the settlers had transformed bushland into farmland, bush tracks into roads, and outposts into towns. The country was called the breadbasket of Africa, and for good reason. The Morkels, like many of their kin, fought for the British Crown in both wars and came home to build anew. They believed in the virtue of work, of loyalty, and of self-discipline. In 1959, the world's gaze turned to the Kariba Gorge, where Italians had built the Great Dam Wall and created the largest man-made lake on Earth. When the Queen Mother switched on the turbines in 1960, Rhodesia glowed with optimism, a modern nation in miniature, efficient, proud. The same year, on the 1st of June, I arrived. A big-headed child born in the Lady Chancellor Maternity Hospital in Salisbury. My father celebrated down at the club. My mother enjoyed the pain and smiled through it. The Africans called me Jim Sorrel, big head, and perhaps they were right. My earliest memory is of standing with my father on a dam wall, watching ducks flap and scatter in panic as the otters came hunting. We had brought the ducks to fight Bilharzia, but nature had other plans. The otters feasted as I watched in horror. Such was Rhodesian life, practical, unsentimental, and full of ruthlessness. We never went hungry at Ceres. The soil was generous, the rains mostly reliable, and the days long. I was born into privilege, yes, but privilege hard-earned by generations before me. Let me reflect. Every man's beginning shapes his endurance. Mine was forged in the steadiness of routine, the rhythm of work and rest, the balance of privilege and purpose. Diet, routine, exercise, control the alcohol, medication or meditation, and sleep, dreams. Those aren't new inventions. They're echoes of older wisdom, the farm cycle, the moral compass, the quiet discipline of men and women who built a life from red soil. When I look back on Ceres, I see more than nostalgia. I see the blueprint of resilience. The seed of survival was sown there long before the storms came. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned. Give us a like. Give us a subscribe. And there's going to be more as we go through chapter by chapter. Thanks very much.